Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Today, I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order to our Board of Adjustment meeting today, October 3rd. My name is Amanda Bills. I'm chairperson of this board, and we do have a full board today. So Kevin Devilbliss, Rick Lamore, Jed McGee, and Kathy Calvert. So thank you, board members. Also present, we do have Chad Stevens, Building Zone City Enforcer, okay, and David Moraine, City Attorney. So, with that being said, we are a 5-member judiciary board, and I like to remind everybody in here that we are volunteers. Okay, so we are appointed by City Council, and we do not receive any compensation for our service. So, okay. The structure of today's hearings, we'll listen to, we have 2 applicants, okay? One is a request for a variance and one is a appeal of an administrative review, okay? So after the applicants are done speaking, we are gonna open it up for public discussion, okay? So if you do want to speak, we'll allow you 2 minutes to do so. We ask if you're going to speak, you come up to the podium and you speak to the board only. Okay, we're not speaking to the applicants, we're not speaking to each other, and we're going to be respectful, and we don't want you to interrupt. And if you have something to say, we want to hear it. You'll get your time. So we do want whatever you are speaking to pertain only to the agenda item. So we've got some things to cover and we want to stay on task, okay? With that, it is the policies of the Board of Adjustment to approve or deny variances and administrative reviews. So I think we'll get to it. I think the first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes of July 25th meeting. Have the members been able to review that?
Motion.
Go ahead, Jed. Okay. Second. Okay. So Jed made a motion to approve those minutes. Kathy will second. Motion carries. Okay. So next up would be a request from Derek and Lana Teeples, who reside at 307 Grower Street. Okay. And they're requesting a variance on their setback. So, all right, you guys want to come up to the podium and...
I'm going to do the talking for the Teeples. Once again, this is a variance on the setback, so 165.26 or 0.266 of the zoning. The Teeples have a corner lot, thus they have a 30-foot setback on 2 of those sides. They're seeking to do a major remodel of the home there, and in that they would need a variance because on one of these sides they would have to go closer than that 30 feet of their lot line, and thus that's what we're here asking for that variance for those 6 feet. You do have their application with you. Just as a visual aid, though I do mention it within the application, I would like to hand each of you a visual aid just to help everyone see what we're talking about here. It's just of the property. It's just a visual aid. It isn't part of that. If you decide to keep it, you can, or I can pick it up afterwards.
Thank you.
There you are, and I see that you guys also have some pictures. You've done your due diligence. You've looked at the property. So once again, just a visual aid. With that, I know within that application we're supposed to demonstrate why should we get this variance. It'd be a lot easier if we didn't need it. I wish we didn't need it. But if we go to the demonstration of compliance, the first thing we have there is an unnecessary hardship. I'm going to focus on the word unnecessary. The hardship caused here is because this is a corner lot, we need to be 30 feet back on 2 sides. Why do we need to be 30 feet back on 2 sides? Well, why do we have zoning? It's for public safety. We need to be able to see around corners. So you put things too close on a corner, that's what makes a corner lot different from every other lot. That being said, as we look back on the unnecessary hardship, I go, is public safety affected by this variance, by you guys granting this variance? there's where my nice little picture comes into play. If you'll see that in that picture, there's a shed there. Now this is just a shed. It's a structure that's allowed. It's actually allowed completely within the zoning. Chad helped us out with that, which is great. It's on that concrete pad. Why I focus on this shed is, once again, we're talking about public safety. We're talking about visualization of that road you see in the background. This shed that's been there since 2001 actually sticks out much further than the garage that the Teeples are asking to put in place. Why I bring this up is we aren't just stating, hey, 6 feet won't cause an issue in public safety. This isn't some hypothetical. We actually have a building that, as you see its height, where it's right there in the height of the garage that's there, we have shown over 2 decades that there is no public safety concern with adding 6 feet, with adding this variance, and only having 24 feet from the lot line. The reason being, we just have a really big setback that from this lot line from our road, which is great for the Teeples, it's great for public safety, but it's also great that this shed is there because it gives you an actual visualization. Will 6 feet cause a public safety concern? No, because 12 feet currently isn't. And that's great. I don't want a public safety concern. Okay, if we go down to number 2, the literal interpretation, the literal interpretation is right there. You need to be 30 feet back. And so is that causing an issue? Yes, it is. If this wasn't a corner lot, we would get 6 feet. We would only have to come 6 feet. It is a corner lot, once again. Public safety is why we have that 30, why it's not 6, which is again why I revert back to my picture of public safety isn't a concern here. But if you do look at the literal interpretation, we don't care, there's no public safety concern. It's 30 feet, let's keep it at 30 feet. That's why we're here. We need a variance from that. We need to address that public safety concern, show there isn't one, and so we're seeking that variance. If we go down to 3, that the variance requested is the minimum variance, you do have a copy of the plan that the Teeples plan to do on the property, the construction that they're doing. And so, yes, this 6 feet is the minimum that they can still fit that drawing that you have there, that it can be done. Yes, we just need 6 feet. We're not asking for more, less, and we would not be able to put that together. Once again, go back to my pretty little picture there. That 6 feet goes about through the middle of that garage. And the other part of that garage is gone now. Okay, so number 4 is actually the meat and potatoes of this entire argument on why we should do this. This is the city of Jefferson. Why should we do this for one of our citizens? It's because granting the variance will comply with the general purpose and intent of these zoning regulations and will not be offensive to adjacent areas or the public welfare. Let's break it down. All right. Granting the variance will comply with the general purposes and intent. What's the general purposes and intent of zoning? Put it into AI, put it into Google, it'll kick it back. It's actually a pretty good summary of every time someone has fought variances against courts, and courts go, no, you being able to do whatever you want on your property is trumped by public welfare. We have variances because it is good for the public welfare. Well, would you, granting the variance, comply with public welfare? We have a nice little shed that we're sitting here looking at that causes, it doesn't cause any harm to public welfare, quite frankly, but would cause, if it did, more harm than the variance we're asking for. We're actually going to move that back. We're going to add sightline, not take it away. So yes, we're complying with the general purpose and intent when it comes to public welfare. A good thing the courts put into public welfare that we all kind of like too is they actually said property values actually help public welfare. I don't know how they did gymnastics for it. It's there. They did it. So with that, we say, hey, we also don't want to lower, that's another reason we have zoning. We don't want to lower property values. If I put a junkyard in my backyard, now we have a junkyard in the neighborhood. This, on the other hand, as you see, we gave you the construction, we are increasing not just the value of the Teeples property as they remodel this older home. Instead of having our lovely standalone shed, have an attached garage. The increased property value there adds property base to everyone in Jefferson that we get to enjoy. And also, a rising tide does lift all boats. As their property's nicer, that means the neighborhood is now nicer because you have a nicer home in it. So We have no issue with public safety, and we are not, by granting the variance, you are not hurting the property values of the other surrounding ones. So we'll switch to, will it be offensive to adjacent areas? Well, one thing's offensive to adjacent areas is that property value. We've already dealt with that. The other thing offenses, if you grant a variance that allows my neighbor to put their house right next to mine, I'm not gonna be happy because I can't even put a mower through there. Here we have a corner lot. You can't see the closest house because the closest house is a road, and then across the road, 30 feet back from that is the closest house. So we are not offending an adjacent house by granting 6 more feet. We are not getting 6 feet closer to anyone. Go back to my picture of our lovely little shed. We're actually getting 6 feet less. We're actually going backwards because we're knocking this thing down. Once again, there's no one to offend, but we're actually getting further away even from our lovely neighbor across the street. 5, 6, and 7 are actually negative in a sense. They say you don't have this. They aren't present here. A negative is a positive, so I won't even address those. I won't take up any more of your time. To go back, once again, we are asking for a 6 feet variance on a quarter lot. We want to get 6 feet instead of 30 feet from our lot line. It does not cause an issue to public safety as shown by 21 years or 24 years of something being there that actually is even further in, and it actually helps property values and the area by them being allowed to remodel as they are. So have we hit the general purpose and intent? I would say we're actually promoting it. We're promoting what zoning is here for. A variance would promote that. So thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
All right.
Is there anybody from the public who would like to comment on Mr. and Mrs. Teeple's variance request? Yep, please come up to the microphone.
My name is Carmen Pop. I live across the road from the Teeples, and I'm in favor of this variance. I think that it will help everyone in the neighborhood. Like Keith said, everybody's property value will go up, and I'm in favor of it, so, yeah.
Thank you, Carmen. Thanks. Anybody else? Okay. So at this time, the board can discuss, and then we can entertain a motion to either accept or deny the variance request.
I have a question. We have a lot of elevations, drawings, but I don't see anything here showing setbacks.
Could you help me here too? Yes, you're in those, there isn't the setback. I believe we found the pins. We actually had, Chad actually came out and he was the one who measured to show that there was an issue with it. So he was helpful enough to show us that we would need a variance with those drawings for it to be able, with those.
It would be helpful if it showed the setbacks on these.
Yeah, I agree with you. To know that the variance we're seeking would, if granted, then it would be allowable within those.
Yeah, it's confusing. Don't show any.
Yeah, I'm not, have you found the property pins then to know exactly where the lot line is?
Well, we found a couple of, or 2 of them, but they're like, they were pulled out and they're just laying in the ground, underneath the ground. So they're not.
Okay.
If
Wouldn't it have been helpful to show the lot
They
lines?
come out where everything majors do. If granted, we would make sure that we'd comply with the variance, that it would be, if a 24 step back is granted, then we would comply, making sure that any contractor or constructor was within 24 and did not overstep that variance.
They would have a survey done, locate the lot pins then, so we would know exactly where the...
And because the board can require that, if put on by the board, yes, we would follow all the board's recommendations.
Yeah, I personally, the shed that they're talking about is under 120 square feet, so that does not require a building permit, so it really could sit anywhere in the yard and be conforming. The issue would be, once that shed is gone, it really doesn't have anything to do with the setbacks of the house or the garage that is currently there. So we don't know exactly where the lot line is currently. We don't know exactly what that setback is to the garage, but we're assuming it's probably around 30 feet. In the past, it is really hard to prove this, I think, unnecessary hardship, just because I want a little bigger garage is not really a hardship. The state did change the law a little bit here in July that kind of relaxed kind of the burden of proof of that hardship a little bit. I don't really have any concerns with granting a variance at this particular property with what they're proposing. I would recommend that they would have the property surveyed, locate exactly where those lot lines are, so we know that if you're granting a 6-foot variance into the setback, that we make sure that's in compliance.
And there, my observation is there isn't a sidewalk on either side of you, so we're looking at the west side and also the north side. There's no sidewalk there. So my big thing has always been safety, so I kind of in line with what you're saying. It seems as though there's not a safety concern.
Yes, in light of the presentation and the fact that there is a shed there, recommendation of a building code enforcement officer, and that it's not gonna, I don't see any safety issues with it, so I guess I'd make the motion to accept the variance.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. And this is a motion to accept the variance with or without the requirement of a survey.
I would say with.
With a
With.
survey? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll amend that to with the requirement of a survey.
Okay. Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you for your time.
thank you, Keith. Okay, so the next hearing, we'll go ahead and keep moving, is a request from Isaac Wangler, who resides at 1907 Neola Avenue, and is requesting an administrative review regarding zoning of 100 East State in Jefferson. So,
I do have a copy of my appeal statement, if you all, I have 5 copies for the.
Yeah,
board, if
we
you
all
would
have
like
copies.
those. You have copies?
yep, we do.
Okay, oh, well, yeah, I guess of what I'm going to speak, I have a copy of that if anyone would like it, but of the letter itself, you probably.
Need a timer?
Yep, we will do a timer.
Okay,
1 second here. We'll let Isaac speak, and then the timers will be for the open public. We'll put the 2 minutes on that. So go ahead, Isaac.
okay, thank you. And thank you to the members of the Board of Adjustment for making time to hear me today as I appeal the conclusion of the investigation into zoning complaint regarding May 3rd, 2025 event at 100 East State Street. The event investigated in the aforementioned zoning complaint was publicly promoted as Drag Queen Bingo. The Merriam-Webster definition of drag is of being involved or intended for a person wearing clothing typical of the opposite sex. And so with that definition of drag, it would seem that a drag performance is characterized by the imitation of one sex to another. Under City of Jefferson's zoning regulation 165.07-6, adult amusement is any use which has as part of its operations amusement or entertainment which is distinguished or characterized by an emphasis on material depicting, describing, or relating to specified sexual activities or specific anatomical areas, or which features topless dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators, or similar entertainment. Zoning Regulation 165.07-7 goes on to state that adult use includes adult amusement, and in Regulation 165.34 about CBC district usage, it is made clear that the building at 100 East State Street falls under provisions that would make adult use a violation for that event in city's zoning code. As it states in that regulation, no adult use may be operated within 500 feet of a residential district, which 100 East State Street is, and that adult use in that district is to be granted only through special exemption by this Board of Adjustment. City of Jefferson's building and zoning official conducted an investigation and concluded, and I quote, that although Jefferson's municipal code includes the phrase male or female impersonators in the context of defining adult amusement or entertainment, that clause is further qualified to apply specifically to uses characterized by an emphasis on material depicting, describing, or relating to specified sexual activities or specified anatomical areas. And so what I would allege and what I am appealing your decision on is that this conclusion is a misrepresentation of the regulation 165.07-6 about adult entertainment, to say that drag, which fits squarely in the description of male and female impersonators, must be further qualified by specified sexual activities or specified anatomical areas, is to ignore the very plain language of what is written in Jefferson's municipal code. And I have three evidences I would like to present of the fact that it is a misrepresentation of the code. The first is the simple use of the word or. I have a 3-year-old at home, and when I tell him don't bite or kick or hit, it does not mean that hitting is acceptable as long as there is not biting or kicking to pre-qualify the hitting. Point number 2 that I would make as an evidence is that the zoning official's conclusion offered on this matter renders the entire last clause of that regulation redundant. The very presence of these displays of adult amusement being listed qualifies them as a part of what is being defined. If it's only the fully nude stripper that is a violation, then why mention strippers at all? If it is only the exotic dancer engaged in sex acts that's excluded, then why mention exotic dancers? If it's only the drag queen who is erect that is excluded, then why mention female impersonators? The third evidence I would offer is that the ACLU has stated that such language in zoning codes in different municipalities across our state constitutes the exclusion of drag queens as defined adult entertainment, and that is why they have written to 7 cities such as Webster City, Polk City, Carroll, Iowa, requesting that they amend their city's zoning codes to remove such language because they recognize it is exclusive in its nature. What I would say about my request in this appeal is this is not a hearing about if drag shows are allowed in Jefferson, because the code makes provision for places where adult amusement can take place. This is also not a hearing about what the code should say, because this is not the body that legislates city code. This is a hearing to clarify what the code does say. The question of the day is, and should be this: does drag fall under the definition of adult amusement as defined by Jefferson's Building and Zoning Code? Based upon sentence structure, the use of the word or instead of and, the ACLU's own recognition of exclusionary language, and the redundancy of needing pre-qualification, it seems clear to me that Jefferson's code says, yes, drag is adult amusement. If the city council, the attorney, or anyone else at City Hall would like the code to say something different, they can take an amendment before the city council for a vote. But using loose interpretation of the code to subvert enforcement is contrary to what I believe is the American ideal. American government is built on the idea of representation for the taxpayer. And if there's a demand from the taxpayers of Jefferson to lessen the standards that keep our square respectable, then let them run for office, represent the taxpayers, and amend the code. The matter of interpretation is not one of pushing the boundary, but of honestly representing the intention for which the code was written by those who gave their time and taxes to build the town we now know and love. So I would ask you today to make a good faith interpretation of the code, overturn the conclusion of the building and zoning official, and find that the Centennial and Miss Fuse productions have been in violation of the City of Jefferson zoning code. Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac.
Do you have questions for me?
Any questions from the board? Thank you. If anybody from the public would like to speak in support of Mr. Wengler, we would take those comments at this time. And you would have 2 minutes to do so.
Yes, my name is Bill Sutton. I reside north of town, and this has been my home community all my life. Thinking into other cities that have dealt with this problem, I'd make reference to Amsterdam, who for the last 500 years has dealt with adult entertainment issues. In their city code, they have very strict areas where this is permitted and others that are not. And I would ask you why a city like this, who has dealt with issues for 500 years, would take that policy. And I believe it's to protect the areas of the city that do not want to have the red light district near them. And so when I think about Jefferson's code, I think about the very same thing, that I'm sure that there are store owners on the square that would like to be permitted from, say, having an adult bookstore move in right next door. And I feel like that if anything, that in future considerations of the code, that the Board of Adjustment should recommend policy changes that would actually strengthen the language in the code rather than try to weaken it.
Thank you. I would just like to add, I believe that would be a city council. If the code were to be changed, then the person suggesting that would go to city council, is that correct?
It would, and with the zoning code, it would start with planning and zoning commission.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So this
Thank you,
Board
Mr.
of
Sutton.
Adjustment does not create or any of the zoning code. So
Yep.
they're just a judicial body,
Yep, okay.
not a legislative body.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak in support of Mr. Wangler? Please come to the microphone, to the podium, and speak in the microphone and state your name. Thank you.
My name is Cindy Wise, and I understand that Pastor Isaac Wangler is addressing the zoning ordinance that is in effect and has been in violation. I come today to talk about something else that is related. This hearing today is about a zoning issue, but there is a much deeper cause to this issue, and that is our children. There is an attack on their minds, and they cannot speak for themselves. Hopefully, this zoning issue will be resolved forthrightly. But when you get home, I'm asking this Board of Adjustment members to watch the documentary, The War on Children. And you can find it on Prime Video very easily. And if you're open to this truth that is communicated through this documentary, I believe you as individuals will want to fight for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, anybody else who would like to speak? Okay. Okay, with that being said, Chad, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I can go ahead. So the board has received, you have the complaint that was filed from Isaac Wangler, and then you have the response that I provided to him, and you also have a memo from David Moraine that I used as a part of my investigation on the zoning complaint. And I used that memo that weighed heavily in my decision as a basis for my decision on the zoning complaint. And then you also received the request for the hearing from Isaac Wangler. And I know you all have copies of the code. So on June 18th, 2025, Isaac Wangler filed a complaint with the city against Why Not Us, the Centennial, and Miss Fuse Productions regarding an event, Drag Queen Bingo, that was held May 3rd, 2025 at 100 East State, claiming there was a zoning violation because this event should have been considered an adult use. So this complaint came, I believe, about 6 weeks after the Drag Queen event had happened. The Centennial is located 100 East State, is a conforming restaurant within the district and event venue operating within the Central Business Commercial District. Its primary use is a restaurant, and the May 3rd event, I believe, was consistent with normal entertainment activities permitted in this district. Pastor Wangler, who filed this complaint 6 weeks after the event, was not present as it states in his original complaint, and therefore did not witness any of the activities firsthand. I believe his complaint was based on assumptions and not direct observations. And when we look at the zoning code, we have to look at the whole code, not just pick out a few words out of the code. But to get the intent of the code, we would have to look at the whole code. And it does define adult use to include adult amusement or entertainment establishments, adult bookstores, adult mini motion picture theaters, adult motion picture theaters, and adult photo studios. Adult amusement or entertainment establishes is also defined as any use which has part of its operations, amusements, or entertainment, which is distinguished or characterized by an emphasis on material depicting, describing, or relating to specified sexual activities or specified anatomical areas, or which feature topless dancers, exotic dancers, strippers, male or female impersonators, or similar entertainment. Jefferson zoning code also defines specified sexual activities and specified anatomical areas, which are the specified anatomical area less than completely and opaquely covered human genitalia, pubic region, buttocks, and a female breast below a point above the top of the areola, and human male genitalia in a discernibly turgid state, even if completely and opaquely covered. It also defines specified sexual activities as human genitalia in a state of sexual stimulation or arousal, acts of human masturbation, sexual intercourse or sodomy, fondling or other erotic touching, or undraped human genitalia's pubic region, buttock, or female breast. It also defines adult bookstores, adult motion picture theaters, adult motion picture theaters. And within most of these definitions, it includes specified sexual activities or specified anatomical areas. So I think when we look at the intent of the whole code, and we don't just pick out one certain section or just one phrase out of that code, when we look at it as a whole, I think we would have to look at is male and female impersonation. I think we would have to determine whether there was actual nudity or specified sexual activity that went along with that. So I did interview some individuals that actually did attend the drag queen event, and they told me that there was not any partial nudity or any nudity there, or there was no real or simulated sexual acts or any specified sexual activity that took place at this event. So I don't believe that, and when we look at zoning code, we don't use Webster's dictionary to determine what the language in the code is. We use the definitions that are in the zoning code to make our interpretations of the code. Since there was no nudity or specified sexual activities witnessed there, I don't believe this event can be classified as an adult use under the Jefferson zoning ordinance. I think if we looked at a similarly zoned location within the central business district, like History Boy Theater, I'm sure there has been male or female impersonations that have happened there within a theatrical or artistic event. I think that this is a similarly classified situation where the drag queen bingo event was just a theatrical or an artistic event, not defined as an adult use. So in my investigation, I concluded that there was no evidence that the May 3rd event violated zoning ordinances because this event did not qualify as an adult use, no special exception or board approval was required, and the Centennial is operating within the city's zoning regulations and is in compliance with the Central Business Commercial District standards. So the evidence to me showed that the event at 100 East State was a lawful entertainment activity, not an adult use, and that the complaint is based on assumptions and not observed violations. And the city's investigation, I think, confirms compliance with zoning regulations. There's no basis for any reclassification or penalty.
Any questions from the board for Chad? Okay. So if anybody at this time from the public would like to speak in support, Chad Stevens, you can do so at this time, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Jen Badger, and I own Shine on Designs and More Time in the Central Business District. I'm here asking that the zoning violation in question be denied because it has zero legal merit. I'm going to point out and rebut a few key points today. First, these people seem to believe that drag is some form of depiction of sexual acts or that there may be body parts exposed in a sexual nature. Having attended many drag shows, I can attest that there cannot be farther from the truth. Sex is not the basis for drag shows. Fancy costumes, pretty makeup, wigs, dancing, yes. Sex, no. Secondly, if they are arguing that this is a form of male or female impersonation, they are again wrong. There is no way to prove the anatomy under those costumes, nor how the entertainer identifies. Also, one cannot prove that these artists are attempting to be any particular gender. In fact, some drag queens are women. But how would an attendee know their gender? We don't. However, if this is about impersonation, then how do we explain what happens in our own community? At my own businesses during Homecoming Spirit Week just a couple of weeks ago, we dressed as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Carlton and members of the band Nirvana. My daughter and her best friend performed their senior dance duet, dressed as men, lip-syncing to a song sung by men. That is impersonation. So I ask, how could this possibly be regulated? The standard is vague, overbroad, and impossible to enforce fairly. Third, and very important to note, as Mr. Stevens has said, the zoning was written for permanent adult entertainment establishments, whose public main purpose for business is adult amusement. The Centennial is a restaurant whose primary business is food. One private performance does not magically transform it into an adult club, and to apply the ordinance that way is to stretch it beyond reason. And finally, let's not forget the Constitution. Drag is a form of expression and speech, and it is protected. Denying it here does not just affect this one restaurant, it sets a precedent for censorship and potential litigation for rights violations. So I will close with this. If wearing a costume on homecoming week or performing a duet on a stage is not a zoning violation, then neither is a drag show. Our community has always celebrated free expression, from school spirit to the theater stage and beyond. To single out drag is a selective enforcement, not law. So I urge you, don't set that precedent. Deny this ruling. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else from the community who would like to speak in support of Mr. Stevens? Okay, Rita?
I'm Rita Peterson. I'm part of the board, the Why Not Us group that owns and leases out the building at 100 East State. And I would state that we, and I hope you have a statement that we prepared and put together that outlines our acquisition and use of this historic building. And we do it because, like the pastor, this is a town that we know and love. I think it speaks for itself, is basically what I'm telling you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Anybody else who would like to speak?
I'm sorry, but I'm a very conservative person, and it's a conservative community. I resent that you're saying that this is okay. It is not the right thing to do, and I don't want to be part of the community that does it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, come on.
I just want to, my name's Peg Dorr. I live here in Jefferson. I just want to say I'm pretty proud of our community, and I'm pretty proud of Jen Badger, and she said basically some of the things I was going to say, so I'm proud of Jefferson right now on this day.
Thank you. Any others? Well,
So my name is Troy Bowers. I've lived in Jefferson for my entire life. Yeah, I'm the father of 2 young girls. And I never thought I'd be here talking about something like this, but I have to say I see it on Facebook. Other people talking about it, things like that. I will say that, on the subject of kids, my kids would never even have known about this if it hadn't become such a big deal and hadn't been talked about by other people. Okay? And, drag is not something that I'm personally interested in. I don't go to drag shows. I'm not, personally interested in that. I have other things I'm interested in. But we live in the United States of America. We have freedoms here. And we have the freedom to, Thomas Jefferson, when he wrote up the Declaration of Independence, guaranteed the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? And we live in Jefferson, a town named after him. And pursuit of happiness, you should be able to do things that you enjoy, even if other people do not enjoy those things. So just because I may not be interested in that does not mean other people can't be interested in that. Also, in the place of a private business, you should be able to do things within reason that, other people are not interested in. That does not ruin that business or change that business for in a negative way. So I would say that even though this may not be something that I personally would be interested in, and other people in the community may not be interested in, it is it's something that should be acceptable. People should be able to do the things that they like. I would also say that as far as hearing today, listening to some of the things that were talked about, I can't necessarily say that I believe the drag has a specifically explicit sexual underlying, because I do believe that it is just clothing. It is a type of clothing that somebody is going to wear. They can put on makeup. Anybody is free to go buy makeup at Walmart. You can buy clothing at Walmart from whatever area you would like, and you can wear those clothes. And I'm not going to make assumptions about somebody based on where they shop and what clothes they wear. And I have worn costumes. I build costumes. I make costumes for fun. It's something I enjoy. And if people like to wear costumes, regardless of whatever costume that is, they should be allowed to do so. And I don't really see any problem with it, even if it is not something that I'm interested in. And like I said, I don't encourage my children to go to those events and things like that. I keep them, I teach them ethics and morals that I believe, but eventually they will be able to make their own choices. But I do my best to teach them the best things I can, and that is to be essentially neutral towards those sorts of things. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be deified, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily need to be vilified either. So,
please
that's
make
my
your
opinion.
closing statement. So, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I don't know anything about zoning, but I do know that I want my kids to grow up being brave, to be who they want to be, no matter what they decide. So I'd never been to a drag show before, but I went to that one, and one thing that stood out to me the most was how brave those people were to express who they are and what they enjoy doing. Freedom of expression, it's a right that all Americans have, right? So I want my children to be brave, to be who they are, despite what community they might grow up in. So, thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
Well, I promised my wife I wouldn't say anything, so I'll apologize to her later when I get home. But hey, I grew up in this town too, and nobody's saying you can't have a drag show. Nobody's saying that's You do you, you know, if you want to do that, that's fine. But what they're saying is that there are ordinances that were set in place by our forefathers, by people who had experienced things, and they set some boundaries. And there's nothing wrong with having some safe boundaries around our square. When I grew up as a kid here, we had 3 strip joints on the square. We had 9 bars within a quarter mile of Abe Lincoln. I mean, at 14, I was in the strip joint. I mean, every kid was. We got kicked out, but you went in anyway. And then you got your brother to take you down the highway to the other strip joint. And if you got kicked out of there, you went over to Grand Junction to that strip joint. I mean, there were strip joints everywhere. Totally nude. You know, you could do whatever. That was the city of Jefferson. But somewhere along the way, the leaders said, hey, you know what, we got to clean this up. This isn't good morality for our community, for our kids, for our businesses, for people that might want to come and live here. And they said, so let's make a buffer zone. Let's clean up the square. Let's get rid of the nudity and the obscenity and the immorality, and let's make it presentable. And let's put some buffers in. I don't think you're an expert on the law at all. I don't know that you're an expert building inspector. But I know you're not an expert on the law. We have a guy over here that probably is an expert on the law. We've got people sitting out here that are experts on the law. So I take what you said with a grain of salt. I appreciate it. I respect you for it. But that's your opinion. We can't take the finer points of the law and throw them out because we have an overall generality. It's kind of like saying it was a great salad, even though there was a little bit of broken glass in it. It was great, except for the broken glass, or, you know, how much kitty litter is okay in your lasagna? None. Our forefathers said we need a buffer zone. And that's what the laws wrote. And that's the foundation that they set for us to follow. And so I think we should honor that. And if you want to have a drag show, cool. Just do it within the guidelines and respect the buffer that our forefathers set out. If we don't have buffers, then anything goes. And if we let anything go, then eventually everything goes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Bailey Mountain. First I'd like to open this up with, I really didn't want to speak at this today, but the longer I was listening to this, the more I felt that I must. So I'd actually like to pull back and pull out of the kitty litter lasagna conversation and move back to what the pastor was saying, specifically citing what drag constitutes as wearing clothes that are intended for the opposite sex. All I'm going to say is clothes don't have an assigned gender or an assigned sex. How many women in here are wearing jeans right now? Are you impersonating a male? Clothes don't have a gender, they don't have a sex. If you go out and you're wearing something that ages ago they said, okay, this is how it's done, that didn't mean there was a law dictating that that was the way it was always going to be. So I just like to point out that, again, like Jen was saying, you can't even tell what anatomy is under there, and you definitely can't tell by looking at someone's clothes that, oh, that person's wearing girl clothes, that person's wearing boy clothes, because there are no girl and boy clothes. That's all.
Thank you.
My name is Danielle Barron. I'm a resident of Jefferson. I feel like this is getting way off track. This isn't about whether you're for drag or against drag. This is about the language of the law. And in Carroll, you cannot have a drag show because of the same language. So why is it allowed here? Some things to point out. Drag does have a sexual connotation. It's just implied. My daughter was part of the recital of Rhythm Room that Jen brought up. Happily, my conservative Christian parents were there. We were all part of it. My daughter was part of it. My daughter would not go to a drag show. Completely different things. The other thing that I think has never been brought up is the day of the drag show, there was a very large children's event at Rhythm Room, just 2 blocks away.
there was a lot of parents, especially dads, were very uncomfortable with the nature of this, and if you had been there that day, there was an extremely different proportion of dads at that event that stood outside to make sure our children were not in any way affected by this. So this isn't about whether you like drag or not. There is language in our law that said this was a clear violation, and to me it's very clear there was a violation, and I think you should uphold that. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I see a lot of really friendly faces. Some I don't know. Some I've got to meet over my 5 years of being here. My wife is from here, and Jefferson has been nothing but welcoming, a welcoming community, a beautiful place. So beautiful, it's difficult not to want to just take a walk, enjoy the beauty. And I wonder why that is. Being a father of 3 kids and one on the way, you have to make difficult decisions in the discipline and like what was said earlier, the boundaries that you set for your children so that they do have a beautiful upbringing. What they choose to do with their decisions after they reach adulthood, no matter what mistakes or good things that you made during their upbringing, is up to them. A authoritative body like this is very similar to parenthood. Our job is to, or not, your job is to first off respect the boundaries that were placed, understand those, interpret those, and carry those on in respect. And also to give an opportunity, like you are now, to give the community a voice. If there needs to be language that needs to be adjusted. Now, how many here have the actual photo from the person who was the performer? Has anyone seen that photo? Okay, I've seen the photo. As a man, to me, exposed legs, the V to the genitalia was very sexual. I'm sorry. But that was quite sexual. I've seen a lot of drag where it's very exaggerated, it's very fun. There's full dress, and I don't see an issue with that. But when you have something that is quite sexual, I think that's crossing a boundary. And you may disagree, but I think it's very clear when I examine it. But this is with all respect, and I think it comes down to the boundaries that were set forth. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Ask one follow-up question about that.
Can you come up to the microphone, please?
Okay, so if you're concerned with where a garment hits on who you are assuming is a man, so our little swimmers that swim at the swimming pool and wear a Speedo, so are they in drag? I mean, how far do you take this? How far do you stretch this? It's an overreach to make assumptions and base your decision on assumption. There's so many examples of things that someone could question, oh, somebody's skirt is too short. What are you gonna make of that? We cannot judge that and label it based on a garment. Our little swimmers then, I guess, are in drag because they're wearing Speedos. So that would be my follow-up question about that.
Okay, please come up.
Just to that, I'd just like to ask the Board of Adjustment, have you all had the privilege or disdain, depending on your persuasion, to see the photos of the drag event?
It has not been presented to us.
Could I present that to you?
Sure.
And then you can, because you are the authorities, you can make the decision for yourself on if this is similar to a swimmer or not. So I'll let you pass that around. And that's all I would like to present is, so you can make the determination on if that's comparable to a child's swimwear or not.
Thank you.
Hello, board members. My name is Jordy, known professionally as Miss Fuse. And I had prepared some remarks for today, but I kind of, after hearing everything, refuse to entertain this complaint. And I just want to emphasize the importance of supporting local drag and local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to go back to that swimming statement. Speedos. I've done swim team many years. Very good at it, I think. First of all, tech suit definition, full body coverage. It's different than a bikini. You're not going to see a girl swimming in a bikini, but you're going to see a girl swimming in a tech suit. Speedos, for example, for a guy, I wear mine to my knee. Jeff knows, he's been to one of my swim meets. I think many people have seen me swim. I wear Speedos that are at my knee. That is not showing full nudity. It'd be nudity if I were to take my pants off.
Anyone else?
Good morning, good afternoon, whichever. My name is Nan Nguyen. My husband, he's from here. I come from California. So basically, I just wanted to say, I don't know anything about zoning or anything like that. But what Jen Badger said, basically everything, that's what I would follow with her because she's become one of my dearest and bestest friends. Coming from California and coming to this small town, you know, it's a different change. However, I've gotten to know a lot of people, and you know, they're pretty awesome. But you know, the world's hard enough. Why are we making it harder? Let's make it like not hard. A little happiness, I guess. That's all I have to say. You guys have a great day.
I'm on a roll lately, so I might as well continue on this. First of all, I apologize for, I'm in my work outfit. My name is Andy Krieger, for those of you that do not know me, but I want to bring up a little point here. 2 years ago, just up here on the square, there was a really cool event at the Sierra Theater, something that made me really proud of Jefferson. It was called the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And part of that, if anybody's aware of that, whether you like it or not, is getting dressed up and just really feeling free yourself. And anybody that was there or probably heard about it, I dressed up as Dr. Frankenfurter. And I was very proud of that. But I was proud of the town for having it. I was proud of the Sierra Theater for hosting it. But I was proud to be a part of that event. It was cool. It was neat. And if anybody knows me, I'm about as male gets. So what I'd just like to say is, if I was in violation of the code, I apologize. It was not my intent. That's really it. I don't believe that I was in violation of the code. But boy, I did dress up and I had fun and I was proud to be able to do so. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Sydney Roberts. I work at 2 downtown businesses, and I've lived in Jefferson 20 years probably. I'd like to say that I do have a gender studies degree as well, and I think we need to bring it back to what this is about. It is about the code being broken and the language in the code. That is not what this board is for. If we have issues with the language that is way too vague, which the ACLU has brought up as well because this has been presented to them, we need to have the language be changed, which is a city council issue. So I think we need to look at the language that we're currently looking at. Also, the difference between sex and gender. If anybody would like any reading material on that, Judith Butler has a really great school of thought in that as well. So we need to figure out how we're defining sex and gender and interpretation as well.
Anybody else? Okay, at this time, we'll close the open forum. Thank you all for speaking. This time, the board, we can deliberate.
I have a question.
Yes, Jed.
A question for Chad. I'm looking at the city attorney's memorandum that you had requested and you acted on. On page 2, he talked about further investigation. And I want to make sure I understand that you did follow up on that.
I did, yes. I called some individuals that were in attendance and asked them some specific questions about the event.
Including the questions that the city
Questions
attorney.
that the city attorney, that he,
All right.
Okay. Do you feel, one of the comments that I heard from the last, one of the speakers, there were many, about the 16507 code, and with the districts of the A, B, C, and D, we have adult bookstores, adult mini motion pictures, C is adult motion picture theater, and D is adult photo studio. I just question if that language is to be for a, when that was written, like one of the commenters said that were 9 strip clubs. Is that, what I question, is that for a permanent business? So is the city saying, we don't want those permanent businesses, we don't want a strip club on the square, we don't want a pornography store in our central business district? So it's one of the things that I question.
That paper in our...
So this is the memorandum.
Who could answer that? I mean, your question.
Yeah.
There has to be an answer for that.
What's that?
There has to be an answer for your question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly when this language for this particular code was adopted. I think probably for the most part, this is for business establishments, not just an individual event. It probably could apply to an individual event, but I think when the code was written, it was to keep, motion, these adult business establishments off the square.
Okay.
Do you have that code?
You should have it in your packet.
Is it in the memorandum? If I got that.
I can show you. Code 15607, and it goes on to discuss these establishments.
Gotcha. I
And
got
that's,
it here.
that's what we're talking about.
Do we need to, like in the codes, make more specifications of exactly what they, what they say or what they do?
Yeah, that would be an issue for Planning and Zoning Commission to look at first. It's not You know, the Board of Adjustment is looking at what's in there right now.
Things change over the years, so I mean, it's like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like maybe update or
Yeah.
you need to
Yep.
Yep.
make new revisions.
Yeah, and so our job right now is just to interpret. When we're looking at the memorandum and comment appropriate to specific agenda, we are simply looking at, did women dress up as men? Was there nudity? And were sexual activities performed? So when we look at this code that we're looking at, that is what we're breaking down. It's a quiet volunteer board.
Yeah.
Don't know what to say.
So, I guess I do have a question, because there was it did, on that same point about, I mean, there was a question about whether the business, establishment of the business, if I remember the code, I don't have a copy of the exact code
Yeah,
in
it
front of
should
me.
be.
I mean, it's in the memorandum, but I think the paragraph above, if I remember correctly, talked about
Here's the memorandum if you want to look at it.
yeah, I definitely looked over it real closely, carefully, the code. And I don't think it says it in here, but there was, I think you mentioned it, was it in your opinion, the code says that it's as an ongoing part of the business?
Right, so when I'm looking at the code and I look at all of the definitions, you know, for the specific section of the code, you know, I believe the intent to be, you know, this nudity, specified sexual, you know, activities, not just picking out one phrase, did a man impersonate a woman, did a woman impersonate a man. I believe those are all, would be within the context of was there sexual activities or nudity. I mean, otherwise we could get into a long list of just somebody in costume, right, walking around the square. I mean, we have trick-or-treating coming up on Halloween around the square. I mean, do you think there will be anybody, you know, there'd be a little boy dressed up as, or a girl dressed up as, you know, in some costume that we don't know what the gender might be for that, so. I just believe the intent of the code, this section of the code, is there specified sexual activities involved?
We're being asked to make a decision here today. What are the options for a decision today?
So the option would be to approve or deny the administrative
Right, so
review.
Do you think I made the right decision in my response to Pastor Wangler, or do you think I made a wrong decision?
So the code says that you can have up to 30 days to make your decision. So you could, sorry, I don't want to get to, I told you I was going to need this. The code says that you have up to 30 days to make your decision. You can either vote one way or the other right now, or you can consider the matter submitted, and then you can consider things on your own. You cannot deliberate while you are in recess, right, until your next open meeting. This is an open meeting issue. So you can be alone with your thoughts or whatever you, and then at the next meeting, as long as it's within the next 30 days, then you need to make your decision. Okay, so those are kind of your three options. You can vote to grant the appeal, you can vote to deny the appeal, or you can vote to consider the matter submitted, set your meeting for sometime in the next 30 days, and then make your decision then, if you don't think that you have the information right now or don't have it kind of gelled in your mind, so.
Okay. How does the board feel about deliberating and waiting 30 days? How do you feel about that? Do you want to make a decision today, or do you want to?
I'd rather make a decision today than wait another 30 days and have to go through the same.
Okay, yep.
Amanda, I just have a general question. So either way you vote.
Please come to the microphone, please. Thank you.
whether you vote today or 3 days, or you vote one way or the other, what's the end result?
The end result is we either approve or deny the administrative review. So we are,
What happens then?
that's a good question.
If you approve it, you deny it, what's the? I mean, are you gonna fine them or send them to jail?
Fair question. At the outset, it is to decide whether or not to grant the appeal. Then next steps can be considered. I don't think that the board is probably, right, in a position where they want to issue any further, because it's not really on the agenda. It's just to grant the appeal or not.
Right.
Further enforcement could then be at the next hearing or one in the future, but that would need to be an agenda item, because if it's not on the agenda, they can't do it.
But what's the enforcement?
Right.
Do we bind?
Queen shows or not?
Yeah, I mean, there's a litany of things that could happen. I would hate to opine on what that could be because I'm not part of the deliberating board. I can give them guidance, but I would probably give them that guidance so they could make that decision at a later time. Okay.
I just didn't know what the...
It's a good lawyer speak for, I don't really know right now, but. Thank you.
Any other comments on whether or not the board wants to vote today?
I guess one comment, what if some of the board members have made their decision and others maybe, haven't. This is very difficult for me, as you guys can probably assume. I know everybody in this room. I know everybody that got up and spoke. I know everybody that sent a letter. I know everybody on both sides of this. I've grown up here. It's very, very difficult. It's been really, really weighing on me for a number of days. I've read it, and again, and I'm maybe speaking for the rest of the board, our job is to just read the code, and it's very difficult because what we have to do is try to figure out the intent of whoever wrote this whenever it was written. I don't know. I've been back and forth on this more times than a Russell Park pickleball. You know, I worked on that line a little bit, but didn't go over quite as well as I thought it would. But no, in all seriousness, this is a serious request, and I've taken it very seriously. I've seen both ways. Actually, as people came up and spoke, oh, that makes sense. Next person, that makes sense. It's very, very difficult. I think that because one of the reasons is it's written so vaguely. I read it once, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Read it another time, and I see another part. That's why I asked about the overall business structure. Is that part of, is it one-off? Is that not permitted? Or is that permitted where if that was your business to have that every day? I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that. I've been back and forth. I don't know if I'd be able to answer that in 30 days. I don't know. I guess, I don't want to be...
Welcome to the Board of Adjustment.
I did want to say that too.
Yeah.
I'm brand new on the board. I was actually at the last meeting, was my first meeting on the Board of Adjustment. Someone asked me to be on the board, and I said, I want to help out. I'm part of the community. Put me on a board that doesn't meet very often and there's no drama. Surprise! Careful what you ask for. Sometimes you get just the opposite. Very, very difficult. I don't know. I guess.
It's not difficult to do the
right.
But it's what the code says, and I understand exactly what you're saying, and you feel very strongly about it, and other people who feel probably on the other side feel pretty strongly about it, and how they read that code. If it's that vague, to me, it's almost like the council needs to relook at this and not to pass the buck, but.
It's like muddy water.
It's muddy water.
Yes, yeah.
It may be evident really for everyone. And again, I've been back and forth on this. Oh, we closed, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jed?
I'm looking at the code as Jeff has talked about and Chad has talked about. We have copies of the different definitions, specifically combining that with Chad's decision and his reasoning, as well as the city attorney's memo. I'd like to make a motion. I make a motion that we deny the appeal and approve the administrator's decision and action.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 All opposed?
Abstain. I don't have a decision, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, majority rules. So motion carries.
Did you adjourn? Could we hear on the mic how each member voted? We couldn't hear.
Would that be in the minutes?
We have individuals.
Was that a 3-1 with one abstention, or is that a 3-0 with one abstention?
I didn't hear any no's when we voted, and when we vote, according to Robert's Rule of Rights, majority rules. So having not heard any no's, then that motion of denying the administrative review carries.
And one abstended? Is that what
I can't.
Jeff did? Okay, just because you could not hear it back there.
Okay, yep, okay. Any other comments or questions by the board? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
I second.
We are adjourned. Or we need a second?
I second.
Is that the next meeting? We don't have to.
I don't have a next meeting, do we?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
that's
just-
okay, that's okay.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to, yeah.